Scaling your law firm doesn't have to be difficult. It's all about mastering a few key strategies, systems, and mindsets. Welcome to the Scalable Law Podcast, where we talk about how you can increase profit in your pocket and time in your calendar. My name is Carolee Fontanelli, and I have successfully scaled my firm so that it doesn't solely rely on me. Now I love teaching other law firm owners how to do the same. Let's transform your business starting now. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here. You are joining me from my home studio, which I'm very excited to have had a really cool back wall installed and signed so that if you do meet me on a call and I happen to be calling you from my home office, you will see this really cool background. I was inspired by other people who I've seen with these fun backgrounds, so we have done the same and it looks so good. I've got a light up sign in the back and it looks awesome. It says, "Hello, Scalable." So it's lighting up the office, lighting up the screens, and hopefully scaling is also lighting up your law firm, because that's what we are all about here at Scalable Law. So over the next 3 podcasts, I'm going to be doing a series, and the series is around the challenges with remote work and how to overcome them as a law firm owner. I get asked all the time, questions and challenges around having a remote team and working remotely. It's still a very new thing, working remotely as a law firm owner. It wasn't that long ago that we were all in the office, and it was very normal to employ local people who were local to your office. COVID changed all of that. That was only 4 years ago, so don't forget, it actually wasn't that long ago. COVID changed all of that, and it set us up for being able to work remotely, being able to employ people remotely. And I think the thing that it did most of all is really open our minds as to how we can work from home and how we can employ entire law firm teams who are also working remotely. But of course, with that remote work comes challenges, and how do we overcome those? So I was a law firm owner who was very, very close-minded to working from home or having my team work from home. And I've been thinking about what it was that really concerned me around working from home. And those concerns were around security and confidentiality. The concerns were around productivity and keeping my team accountable. So how did I know that they would actually be working and not mucking around, for example? And then the other concern I had was really stress about maintaining client relationships and my firm's reputation. These people are representing me and my firm, so how do I make sure that it's done well? Now, this podcast isn't only for people who are employing remote teams, it's also for any firm, because the reality is you can't be there in your office all the time. You can't control every scenario. We all still do have stress around security, around maintaining our relationships and firm reputation, and also around making sure that the team is productive and accountable. So the next series of podcasts is going to touch on each of these topics. So stay tuned as we launch into this series. So to kick us off today, we are going to be talking about concerns around data security and confidentiality in your firm. Protecting sensitive client information and legal documents really does remain one of the most important things in our law firm. And when we've got employees working from various locations, it can be difficult. We're also more and more looking at employing, say, VAs in the Philippines. We are employing people who we have never met before because they're located in different areas. But also, even if you are in an office, you still do need to be very vigilant and concerned about data and security. It often is very, very stressful, like cybersecurity and how to protect against those kind of data breaches and unauthorized access. I've got some terrible stories, and I just hope and pray that those things don't happen to you at your firm. And then also the worry that client matters remain secure and confidential. So let's look at this and how you can up-level your firm's security and data and confidentiality in your law firm. What I'm hoping out of today's podcast is that you're able to take measures to enhance your data security and ensure confidentiality. I've got 8 key strategies for you, and I would love for you to have a pen and paper and write these down as we go. So the first thing that is really, really important, and I really believe that you cannot do the rest. You can't do steps 2 to 8 without step 1. Now, step 1 is the awareness of different types of data and confidentiality issues that can happen. There's so many things that we don't even think of. What we do think of is we think of email hacks, bank account hacks, maybe someone hacking into our practice management system, or that not being safe. We don't think about all the other ways that data breaches and security or confidentiality breaches can happen in our firm. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple of my own experiences so that you can think about these, because they've happened in my firm, and the reason is because of my lack of awareness of what can occur. Now, we're always, for example, talking to our staff about emails. We often as law firm owners get those emails where they say things like, can you come and talk to me, or can you go and do this thing for me, or can you go and buy this gift card? Those happen. As we all know, and we are all aware of that. We're also aware of things like making sure that our clients are phoning us with their bank details and private information rather than emailing it through and things like that. That's important as well. But things that we might not think about can occur in your law firm, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So I had an employed solicitor in my firm who was a junior solicitor. They were a go-getter and really wanted to succeed, but they weren't really up to scratch. I had to let him go in the probationary period. During the period where it was becoming obvious that we were going to be letting him go, he stole, you could say, or downloaded from my firm about 110 precedents. Now, the precedents weren't templated precedents. They were client correspondence, client letters. They were documents with client details on them, such as consent orders and applications. And that actually created and caused a data breach. It was very, very serious because there were 100 documents. And I guess it doesn't matter if there's one document or 100. It's very serious because that's client's private information, and that is a data breach, and you do have to act on that. In this case, we got an employment lawyer involved, and he returned the documents and took steps to take and do an undertaking. But it could have been much worse if we hadn't been aware or known that it happened. So being aware of what your staff are doing, don't be scared to get an IT person in to check the back end of the computer to see what has been downloaded, and to make sure that you do a lot of training and all of that kind of stuff around those issues, because that is a confidentiality issue and it is a data breach. Someone like a junior solicitor might not understand how serious and significant that is. They might do it at a whim, but it's up to us to, one, have that awareness, and also to actually act on it, and act on it very seriously, which is what we did in our firm. So that is a data breach. Another data breach that happened in my firm, which was very serious, and I'm embarrassed to say that this would happen, but it does, is that we as in one of my senior solicitors, accidentally photocopied some documents, and during the photocopying process, another lawyer had photocopied documents, and someone's private details and documents got caught up in between the other documents, and our client got handed another client's documents by accident. It was very accidental. It wasn't malicious, but accidents happen, and it's about being aware of those types of breaches. That was a data breach. We had to tell our client. Very embarrassing. We had to deal with it as best we could, but those things do happen, and it's about the awareness. And so keep in mind that it's not just email hacks, it's not just bank account hacks or practice management systems not being safe, it's other things as well. So when it comes to remote working, remember that your team must have a private area. They must have computers that lock. They must have, that people in their homes, their husband, their wife, their children, other people in their homes cannot have access to your data, your client's data. So make sure that that training is in place, those processes are in place, and all of that sort of thing. So it's not necessarily only data and security and confidentiality issues from the outside. It's also training our teams and making sure that we are safe from the inside out as well. So that's just something to be aware of. So awareness about the different types of data and confidentiality issues. Really think about that as you move forward. My suggestion here is to actually outline and document all of the different types of data and confidentiality issues that you can foresee and then go about putting in these next steps. So the next step is to do comprehensive data protection policies. So making sure that there are policies in place in your law firm before anything happens. Of course, we know as lawyers that you're not to steal precedents or other people's documents, but it's not to say that you should not have it spelled out in your law firm and make it very, very clear to your team. Making sure that things like what I explained to you about using the photocopier, checking documents before you hand them to a client, like those kinds of things, small basic things. Processes are in place, and it's very, very clear as to how people conduct themselves as they get about their everyday business. Ensure you have very safe measures around money, taking people's money, bank account policies, credit card policies, all of that type of thing to make sure that your clients' details are secure. Make sure that you have very strong policies around security, around your practice management system, and all of that type of thing. And then on top of that, have an incident response plan. So develop and maintain a response plan to handle data or security breaches so that you're not floundering around if they do occur, and that you're able to really easily respond in the way that you should. Because when there is a data breach, there is certain things and steps that you do need to be taking, and you want to be able to do that promptly and as fast as possible. Also, in saying that, when it comes to comprehensive data protection policies, both the policies and the response plans, make sure that as a firm, you become a policy and process-driven culture. What this means is that for everything that you do in your firm, you're not flapping around or floundering around. Everyone knows what needs to be done because it's all written down, and it's driven from processes and policies rather than fast, frightened or scared responses where you're reacting rather than being proactive. So that's number 2. Number 3 is to implement strong access controls. So ensure that you have got role-based access, so assigning access rights based on roles within the firm, and ensuring that only authorized personnel can access sensitive information. Too often we leave things like, for example, even our policies and procedures. If you create a huge big library of that, how do you know that it is safe? Make sure that not everyone can access that. They can only access the parts that they need to be accessing. Same with your practice management system, your bank accounts, etc. Make sure that the access is controlled and you know who has access and when. Often things get out of hand and we lose track of everything. So keep a register of all of the digital accesses that you have and who has access to what. This will help you as people come and go to make sure that it is all secure. Also, make sure that you have the multi-factor authentication where required. This is really important to keep all of your data safe. Number 4 is to have regular security audits and assessments. Make sure that you are doing internal audits regularly. So conduct regular internal audits and identify what vulnerabilities you might have and ensure that everything is compliant with all of your security policies. Also, you can get external people to come in and, hire third parties. They can do penetration testing and make sure that the security is right in your firm, and they'll be able to identify any potential weaknesses. I've heard of some awful stories of different external data breaches, and they're really horrible, and we just hope that they don't ever happen to your firm. So make sure you keep up with those regular security audits and assessments. Now, number 5 is really, really important, and I think we tend to overlook it a little bit, but it is important that we have employee training and awareness. This is not just putting them on a webinar where you are ticking off your CPD points. This is actually training your team on policies and processes around your firm, inside your firm, training them on confidentiality, training them on data security, making sure that if they are remote or working from home, that they are in a safe, secure environment in terms of, they don't have anyone lingering across the back of them or sharing an office with them, so that they can't see what's going on client matters. Giving them that training is really important. So best practices on data security and the importance of confidentiality. Also, the phishing awareness is really important. So educate employees about phishing attacks and how to recognize suspicious emails and links. I have got an awful story about a client who had an email penetrated, and in the back end, they had stolen the contact details of clients who she was billing, and they sent an invoice with changed bank account number, and the client paid all of the invoice into the criminal's bank account. That's a big loss to her firm and really, really unfortunate. And, it would have been some sort of link or something like that had been pushed. They are getting trickier and trickier, as you will probably know. So just be very, very aware and make sure that you and your employees are trained on all of that. Number 6 is secure communication channels. So making sure that you are using encrypted emails and tools for secure sensitive communications and secure messaging apps. Use platforms that offer an end-to-end encryption for internal and client communications. If you have a practice management system with a client portal, that is very secure and a great way of making sure that your client communications are safe. Number 7 is advanced security technologies. Now, make sure that you actually do have an IT person come into your firm, either in person or remotely. It's a great idea, even though it does cost, but to have them on some sort of subscription. So we've got an IT person. He charges $30 per computer per month. What that means is that he's always making sure that the firewalls are right, the antivirus protection is right, that everything is implemented against malware and other cyber threats. Because the thing is this is getting tougher and tougher. It is not something you can just download easily online and be sure that you are safe. You need to make sure that you've got an expert in your computers and making sure that you are protected. That includes your team's computers if they work from home or off other devices. So just make sure that you have all of that sorted out. Number 8 and the final one is to make sure that your team has secure remote access. So making sure that it's a VPN, which is a virtual private network. So they are not using a network at an airport or whatever it might be if they are on the move. make sure that it is secure. Now, this is something that, again, needs to be part of your processes and policies and in your training. So we all need to go back and look at what we are actually training our staff in and what we are accepting when it comes to security and safety. And again, back to the policies and procedures, making sure that they have secure work from home policies. Ensure employees are following best practices when it comes to accessing the firm's network from home, making sure that they have secure Wi-Fi and updated devices. So that takes us sort of back again to number 7, which is getting an expert IT guy involved and go to the expense, because the reality is that having someone hack your system and there could be something very bad that happens. So the example I gave you before, that was a $5,000 cost to that client when she sent the invoice, but it had the wrong bank account net details on it because the hackers had infiltrated her email. That's a massive expense compared to someone coming in and helping you with your IT, making sure that it is all secure. So I'll quickly just run through those again for you. So the first one is having awareness about the different types of data and confidentiality issues. It's not just from outside, but it can also be from inside. So have full awareness of that and what they could possibly be. Have a comprehensive data and protection policy. I should actually say policies because there's going to be lots of different things you're going to want to cover. So make sure you are becoming a policy and process-driven culture in your law firm. Implement strong access controls. Do regular security audits, both internally and externally. So get that third party in. Make sure you're constantly training your employees and their awareness around these issues. Secure your communication channels. So make sure that the way that your staff are communicating with each other and with the other side of matters as well as clients, that it is secure. Ensure that you get your IT guy involved, get an expert in and get those advanced security technologies put in place. And make sure that you have secure remote access by anyone who is working from home. In a work environment, in an office, you can secure all of that. But when you are relying on other people's Wi-Fi connections and what they're using, make sure that it is secure. So by implementing all of these strategies, you are going to significantly mitigate the risk of any associated data or confidentiality breaches. And you're going to be proactive, which is the most important thing. So stay educated, keep training, get your policies and processes up and running, get the experts in. And I really hope that this has been helpful, because I know for me, security and confidentiality is definitely something that we are worrying about, and we definitely need to continue to worry about that as we move forward. This is not going to go away by itself, and it's up to us as law firm owners to protect our interests. Hope this has been helpful. Tune in for next week's one, where we're going to be talking about how to keep your team productive and accountable if they are remote. But even if they're not remote, how do you keep your team productive and accountable? So let's get rid of the anxiety around that and create the best law firm ever. Okay, bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Scalable Law Podcast, brought to you by the Scalable Business Lounge. If you would love to know how you can get more clients without relying on referrals, head over to scalablelaw.com to watch my free masterclass. Until next time, you have got this.